Emily pretended she had lost everything, but when her in-law's shocking reaction turns her world upside down, will she find the strength to forgive and move forward? Stay tuned because you are about to watch a story filled with betrayal, strength, forgiveness, and love. Hello, family. Welcome to Storytime Mutually. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interesting stories. Like and share this video to your friends and loved ones. Your support and engagement encourage me to post more videos. Thank you as you do so. Sit back, relax as we dive into the story. Emily Parker sat quietly at the edge of her bed, staring at the phone in her hand. It was a quiet evening in her small one-bedroom apartment in London. The sound of the ticking clock on the wall was the only thing she could hear. Outside, the sky was gray, and a light drizzle tapped against the window. It felt like even the weather understood her mood, tired, heavy, and full of questions. Emily had been working in London for 6 years as a registered nurse. She left her home in Texas shortly after marrying Brian Parker. It was supposed to be a temporary move to support their future. Her dream was to build something big for both of them. She worked night shifts, long hours, weekends, and holidays. Most times, she skipped her own meals just to save money to send back home. Every month, she sent money to her husband and his family. Not because they asked nicely, but because they expected it. And every time she sent the money, they barely said thank you. Brian's mother, Mrs. Linda Parker, was a proud woman. She looked down on Emily from the very beginning. At their wedding, she whispered to one of her friends, "She doesn't look like someone who can lift this family. We were hoping for someone wealthier." Emily heard that. She never forgot it. But still, she tried. She sent money to fix their broken roof. She paid the hospital bills when Brian's father had surgery. She bought new school uniforms for Brian's niece and nephew, all from her small nurse salary. Emily never complained. She believed love meant sacrifice. And she truly loved Brian. But love, she realized, was becoming one-sided. Brian hardly called. When he did, it was to ask, "Did you send the money this week?" Not, "How are you?" Not, "Are you eating well?" Not, "Do you miss me?" Just money. And now, something inside Emily was tired. Tired of being used, tired of being alone, and tired of pretending everything was okay. That evening, as she looked out the window, she made a decision. She would test them. Not because she wanted revenge, but because she needed to know, if she lost everything, would they still care about her? She picked up her phone and dialed Brian's number. It rang twice. He picked up. "Hello," his voice came through, distant, distracted. "Hi, Brian," she said softly.
Hey.
"You okay?" he asked, but it didn't sound like concern. Emily hesitated. "Something happened." "What?" he asked quickly. I lost my job today," she lied. There was silence on the line. She continued. "The hospital is letting go of staff due to budget cuts. I'm one of them. I don't know what I'm going to do." Brian didn't ask if she was all right. He didn't ask if she needed help. Instead, he asked, "Then what are you going to do now?" "I guess I'll have to come back home," Emily replied, her voice shaking. "Just for a little while, until I figure things out." Brian was quiet again. When he finally spoke, his tone was flat. "I'll tell Mom and Dad." That was all he said. No sympathy. No offer of support. No sign that he still loved her. Emily ended the call slowly and stared at the black screen of her phone. Her chest felt tight. Her eyes burned with tears. She had just told the man she loved that she lost her job, and all he cared about was telling his parents. She sat on the edge of her bed, wrapped her arms around her legs, and laid her head on her knees. That night, she didn't eat dinner. She cried herself to sleep, holding onto the small pillow that once carried Brian's scent. But she didn't know that the next morning would be worse. She had no idea what her in-laws were planning to do. And what they would say would leave her speechless. The next morning, Emily opened her eyes slowly. Her head was heavy from crying all night. Her pillow was still damp with tears. She sat up on her bed, looked around the small room, and let out a tired sigh. It was quiet, too quiet. She hadn't slept well. Her heart felt heavy, and her thoughts were full of worry. Even though the news of her job loss was only a lie, the The pain she felt was very real. She reached for her phone to check the time. Just then it rang. Sharon Parker, Brian's younger sister, was calling. Emily's hand trembled as she picked up. She hadn't spoken to Sharon in months. Not since the time Sharon asked her for money to buy a new phone, and Emily couldn't afford it. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello." There was no greeting. Sharon's sharp voice filled her ear. "So, we heard you lost your job. Is it true?" Emily blinked. Her heart thumped. "Yes. I'm going through a hard time right now." Sharon didn't let her finish. "Wow," Sharon said with a chuckle. "Well, that's life. But you're not thinking of coming back here, are you?" Emily was stunned. I thought maybe I could stay at the house for a short while. Just until I find another job." Sharon scoffed. "Our house isn't a shelter, Emily. We have our own problems too. You chose to go abroad, remember? We didn't ask you to leave." Emily swallowed hard. "I didn't say I wanted to stay forever. Just—" Sharon cut in sharply. "Mom said if you step foot in this house, you'll be treated like a guest. No one is going to cook for you or carry your weight. You should have saved your money better." Her words were like poison. Emily sat frozen, holding the phone to her ear as Sharon continued. "You always acted like the generous one, sending money and buying things. Now that you're broke, let's see how generous you are with your silence." Then she hung up. Emily stared at her phone in disbelief. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Her legs felt weak, so she sat down slowly on the edge of the bed. Her fingers were cold. Her chest ached, not just from the cruel words, but from the truth behind them. They didn't love her. They never did. They loved what she gave, not who she was. A few minutes later, another message came in. It was from Brian. "Mom and Sharon don't think it's a good idea for you to come home right now. Things are tight here too. Maybe ask your friends to help out." No apology. No comfort. Just rejection. Emily didn't cry this time. She stared at the message, then slowly put the phone down. And then she smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the kind of smile that comes when someone finally sees the truth, clear and painful. For years, she worked herself to the bone, sent money home, and tried to prove her worth. For years, she was the perfect daughter-in-law, the loyal wife, the quiet giver. But when she said she had nothing left, they tossed her aside like old furniture. They didn't even pretend to care. Emily stood up and walked to the mirror. She looked at herself. The tired eyes, the worn-out face, the strong woman no one saw. She whispered to her reflection, "They've shown me who they truly are. Now it's my turn." That day, she didn't eat. She didn't cry. She wrote in her journal. She thought deeply. And she made a decision. No more giving without love. No more pleasing people who didn't see her value. Emily was going to rebuild herself. Quietly. Strongly. And when she returned, not to their house, but to the world, they would all see the woman they tried to break. And what she would become would leave them speechless. Emily woke up early the next day. This time, she didn't cry or feel weak. She felt calm, focused. She made a hot cup of tea, sat by the window, and opened her journal. She flipped through the pages she had filled the night before, notes, plans, dreams she had once buried under the weight of trying to please others. She began writing a new heading, "My New Beginning." For the first time in years, Emily was thinking about herself. Not Brian, not his family, just Emily. She spent that day searching for online courses and work opportunities. She still had some savings left. She hadn't really lost her job after all. The lie was only a test. But now, she decided to turn the test into truth. She resigned from the hospital with a polite letter. It was time for change. Emily registered for an online business course in fashion and retail. She had always loved clothing and design, but she'd never had time to focus on it. For years, she put everyone else's needs before her own. Now, she was going to build something for herself. She also started recording videos in the evenings, short clips about her life, her experiences as a nurse abroad, and her story as a woman who was used and tossed aside by her own in-laws. She didn't use real names, but her voice was strong,
Real.
emotional. She shared stories of pain, but also of courage. She talked about how women give, and when they stop giving, they are forgotten. She spoke about finding worth again, even when others say you have none. Her videos slowly gained attention. Within 2 weeks, one of her videos went viral. Thousands of people commented, women from different parts of the world thanking her for speaking their truth. Some shared their own stories. Others offered support. A popular women's foundation in New York reached out. They wanted to feature her in their weekly program called Voices of Courage. Emily agreed. On the day of the interview, she dressed in a simple yellow blouse and clean jeans. Her hair was tied neatly, her makeup light and natural. She looked into the camera and spoke clearly. I pretended to lose my job to see if the people I had supported for years would support me in return. They didn't. Instead, they threw me away like I was nothing. But they didn't know that losing them would be the best thing that ever happened to me. It gave me the freedom to find myself. The video received over 1 million views in 2 days. More messages came in. A small business owner from Los Angeles offered her a remote position as a digital consultant for his online store. Another woman from Atlanta offered to sponsor her fashion idea. Emily was shocked, but grateful. For the first time in years, she was surrounded by people who didn't want her for her money, but for her mind. She accepted the offers. She started designing simple, elegant clothes for working women. She called her brand Real Grace. It was a name that reminded her of the strength she carried inside her all along. Within a month, Emily's income doubled what she had earned as a nurse. And this time, she kept it for herself. She didn't send a single dollar to Brian or his family. Not out of bitterness, but out of peace. They made their choice. Now she was making hers. But word travels fast. One evening, Emily got a message on Facebook from Brian Parker. Time, 7:42 p.m.
Hey.
I've been seeing your name a lot lately. Everyone's talking about your videos. You look different. You look good. Emily stared at the message for a long time. Then another message came in. I'm sorry about everything. I didn't know things were that hard for you. Maybe we can talk. Emily didn't reply immediately. She closed her laptop and walked to her kitchen. She poured herself a glass of orange juice and smiled to herself. She wasn't angry. She wasn't hurt anymore. She was healed. She would reply when she was ready. But one thing was clear. Her silence had spoken louder than her giving ever had. And the woman they all ignored? She was now a name on everyone's lips. But she knew the final chapter of her journey would not be complete until she faced the people who had broken her, the people she once called family. It was time to return. Not to beg,
Not to stay, but to show them what they had lost.
3 weeks later, Emily booked a quiet flight back to her home country. She dressed simply, plain black jeans, a white shirt, and soft curls falling around her shoulders. She wore no flashy jewelry, no expensive handbag. Her beauty was in her confidence now, not in what she wore. She arrived quietly in her hometown, took a taxi straight to the Parker family house, and stood at the gate. Her heart was steady. The same gate where she once stood many times, carrying gifts, sending money, or bringing things from abroad to please everyone inside. This time, she had nothing in her hands, except her peace. She knocked. Brian's mother opened the door. Her eyes widened in surprise. Emily. Yes, Ma, Emily said calmly. What are you doing here? The woman asked, looking around as if embarrassed. I came to talk, Emily replied. Brian's mother didn't know what to say. She stepped aside quietly, letting her in. The sitting room hadn't changed. Same chairs, same old family photo on the wall, the one Emily was never included in. Sharon came down the stairs, chewing gum. When she saw Emily, she froze. Wow, Sharon said with a smirk. The prodigal daughter returns. Emily didn't flinch. Good to see you too, Sharon. A few minutes later, Brian came down. He looked different, slightly thinner, his hair messy, dark circles under his eyes. Maybe life had also been teaching him lessons. Emily, he said, walking over slowly. You look amazing. Thank you, she said softly. He sat opposite her. I was hoping we could talk. I've been thinking about everything. I know I made mistakes. We all did. Maybe we can start over? Emily nodded slowly. Yes, I came here for closure. Not revenge. I want to say some things and hear what you have to say. They sat in silence for a few seconds. Then Emily looked directly at them. I set money every month. I worked night shifts. I skipped meals just to make sure everyone here is okay. I missed weddings, birthdays, and holidays while working far from home. But when I said I had nothing left, you gave me nothing. You didn't ask how I felt, if I was safe, if I had food or shelter. Brian's mother looked away. You didn't even lie to comfort me. You just threw me away like a bag of garbage. I'm sorry, Emily, Sharon said quietly, for the first time without sarcasm. I didn't know you felt all that. You didn't care to know, Emily replied gently. Then she turned to Brian. You were my husband, Brian, but you chose to be your mother's son before being my partner. When I needed you the most, you told me to go ask my friends. That message broke me. Brian lowered his head. I was wrong. I see it now. I just thought you'd always bounce back. I didn't think you'd walk away for real. Emily sighed. That's the problem. You all thought I would always come back. Always give. Always carry the weight. But I've learned something important. She stood up slowly. I am not just someone's wife. I am not just a daughter-in-law. I am a woman with value. I am enough. And I no longer need to prove that to anyone. Brian's mother wiped her eyes quietly. Sharon looked down at her nails, ashamed. Brian looked up. So, this is goodbye? Emily smiled. It's not goodbye. It's growth. I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. I don't want to carry this pain anymore. Then she pulled something from her bag, a small envelope. This is a letter I wrote the day you rejected me. I never sent it, but today, I want to leave it with you as a reminder. She placed it on the table, then turned to leave. As she reached the door, Brian's mother called out, Emily? Emily turned. You look truly happy, she said. Her voice trembled. I'm sorry we couldn't see your worth before. Emily gave a gentle nod. Thank you. I wish you well. And with that, she walked away free, whole, and glowing. 1 year later, Emily stood in a room filled with women. She was the keynote speaker at a women's leadership conference in Miami. Her brand Real Grace was now one of the fastest-growing online stores for women's wear. She had also launched a program to support abandoned wives and struggling mothers with skills and startup funding. After her powerful speech, a young woman from the audience came up to her in tears. You saved my life, she said. Your story, your strength, it gave me courage to leave a painful marriage and start over. Emily hugged her. Her eyes welled with tears, but they were happy tears. She was no longer the woman crying into a pillow in silence. She was the woman others looked up to. The woman who turned pain into purpose. And even though she once pretended to lose everything, she ended up gaining everything that truly matters. It was a quiet Saturday afternoon. Emily was sitting in her living room, organizing fabric samples for her new clothing line. The sunlight filtered through the curtains, casting soft shadows across the wooden floor. Then, she heard a knock at the door. She stood, unsure who it could be. She wasn't expecting anyone. When she opened the door, her breath caught. It was Brian. He looked nervous, holding nothing but a small paper bag and a look of guilt on his face. Emily, hi, he said quietly. She stared at him for a moment, then stepped aside and let him in without a word. They sat in silence for a moment. Emily placed a glass of water in front of him. Brian finally spoke. I've thought about this day for so long. I didn't know if I'd ever have the chance to say it. She looked at him, calm and quiet. I acted terribly, he began. I know. The truth is, I let my mom and my sister have too much power in my life. I didn't know how to say no to them, even when I knew it was hurting you. Emily remained silent, listening. They made me believe that I had to choose them or you, but I loved you, Emily. I still do. But I was weak. And I'm sorry. Brian swallowed hard. I've tried to move on. I've gone on dates, tried to bury the past. But nothing worked. No one ever made me feel safe like you did. No one ever fought for me like you did. I didn't understand what I had until I lost you. Emily blinked slowly. The words were heavy, but her heart wasn't angry anymore. I want to try again, he said softly.
Please.
If you give me one last chance, I promise things will never be the same. He leaned forward. I'll never let my mother or Sharon decide how I treat you. I'll still love my family, but it won't be like before. It will be you and me, forever. Just us. He reached for her hand but didn't touch it, waiting. I appreciate all you've done for us, he said. I never said it when it mattered, but I say it now. Thank you. For everything. Then he looked into her eyes. I still love you, Emily. Please think about it. She sat back quietly and nodded once. Okay, she whispered.
Go.
I'll think about it. Brian stood slowly. He didn't argue. He just nodded and walked away. The door closed softly behind him. Emily stood still for a while, heart pounding quietly in her chest. She wasn't confused. She just needed a moment. And that's when it happened. In the silence of the house, her heart whispered something gentle. She still loved him. She had tried to hate him, tried to forget. But even after everything, her heart remembered. He had hurt her. But he had also been the man who once held her hand when she was sick, who danced with her under the stars, who dreamed about the future with her before everything fell apart. And now he wanted to be better. Emily sat down, picked up her phone, and stared at the screen. For a few seconds, she hesitated. Then she dialed. Brian, she said when he picked up. Yes, he replied, voice shaky. Let's talk again.
Tomorrow.
I want to give this one last chance. There was silence on the other end, then a deep sigh of relief. Thank you, Emily, he whispered. I won't fail you this time. Months passed. Emily and Brian didn't rush things. They took their time, rebuilding trust slowly. Brian proved himself in small, everyday ways. He no longer answered every call from his mother during dinner. He stopped letting Sharon make sly comments without speaking up. He stood by Emily's side. They joined hands and worked together on Real Grace. Brian helped manage the business side while Emily focused on design. Their love, once lost, became a new foundation of teamwork, respect, and healing. They didn't need a wedding. Their love was already strong enough. Years later, they lived in a cozy home with their 2 children, a daughter named Eliana and a boy named Joel. Their home was full of laughter, soft music, and quiet strength. And whenever people asked Emily how she survived everything, she would smile and say, "Forgiveness isn't for the weak. It's for those strong enough to love again without fear." That brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Kindly subscribe to my channel, like, comment what you feel about the story under the comment section, and share to your friends and loved ones. Thanks for watching.